Hello, this is Starlight. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Yeah, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like this video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I really appreciate it. But before I get going on this video, I want to reach out to all of you. And whether you know this, we're all family. So I want to make sure that you were able to, like get out this weekend. And I don't know about you, where I am, it's winter, so but over the weekend, which it's still the weekend right now, is it was really nice temperature. So I just want to make sure that you got out, or maybe you brought your family with you, your husband or wife or boyfriend or girlfriend, or maybe you went out with a friend, or or even brought your children with you, and or anybody. Or even your furry friend, like maybe you have dogs, maybe you were able to take your dog out for a hike. I know over the weekend I seen lots of little dogs, and they love Starlight. I must have something around my body. They're like, hey, go see her. And because they sense this stuff. And so it's amazing, and I love them. So I'm always petting everybody else's dogs, which is nice because I can't have pets where I live. So it gives me a time to have that pet time, pet therapy. So anyway, today I really want to reach out to you about forgiving people. And most of the people, and this is a really sad thing, and this is why I wanted to start a YouTube channel, is to help change the way we're doing things as far as being parents. And my kids are all grown up, so I want to really help other people. With the people nowadays, have a lot of people have one form of mental illness or several different mental illnesses, and a lot of that comes from being abused. So maybe you were abused as a kid, and or there's so much, a lot really stems from neglect, where maybe you were neglected when you were kids, and maybe your parents didn't have time for you, or like there's a lot of parents, they didn't even want kids, they unplanned pregnancies, and boom, there you are. And so that happens a lot. And then there's other mothers, out there, and fathers. This goes hand in hand. Sometimes they both don't want kids, and they might actually try to have a miscarriage just to get rid of you. And and then you find out later on, maybe your mom or dad told you that we didn't want you. And so like with that, the problem is that there's there's other problems that are going on when people having babies, is that it could have been like a unplanned pregnancy, where they they make a choice, which I've known people in my past time that like I did work with a lady before that she found out she was pregnant, and her boyfriend at the time, they weren't married, he wanted her to have an abortion. He didn't want no part, well, then he should have been, using some kind of form of protection, really, hello, you don't want no babies. So if you don't want any babies, men and women, that, especially the female, this really falls on the female more than the man, because she's the one that's going to be, having a baby. And it's going to, it's not like the guy is going to, he might be able to make one, but, like I don't see it coming out of him, so really the female, to me, has to be more responsible in that area. If she doesn't want to have any babies, and, and if he doesn't want to, and that's the problem in this world. There's sometimes couples get together and they really shouldn't even be together. They really should have found somebody where they match, more of a better match, where they find somebody that, if you don't want babies, go find somebody that doesn't want babies. Don't go with somebody that wants to have babies, and then when you, like she gets pregnant, where it's not fair for the child, where people want to get a miscarriage or an abortion or something like that. And this goes on a lot around the whole world, where the mom will either drink alcohol and try to have a miscarriage, or sometimes women and the man, because it goes both ways, where they were on some kind of strong drug, and where this can actually affect the baby when it's born, and have some really bad problems, or not even make it. So we really need to turn this around. And now it's 2023. I don't understand why this is still going on at these days. You'd think, really, you would think after I was born, things would get better. But no, it's still, continuing. There's still moms out there and dads that get mixed up with the wrong girl or the wrong guy, and they have babies that they don't even want. And then they try to have a miscarriage. They don't want to go out and, like to go and get a miscarriage, like abortion, like at a clinic or whatever, and where then they decide to drink a lot of alcohol or find out how to have a miscarriage, and that is really hard, where, a lot of kids these days have some kind of mental illness, and it could cause them later on, this is why it's so serious, to like to try to end their life. And that's why we really need to turn this around as far as how we're raising kids up. And this really doesn't, it doesn't really, I can't have any babies anymore. I would love to have, like 10 more, but I'm at that age now where I learned so much about being a good mom now, throughout my time being a mother myself. I have 2 beautiful kids and 2 grandsons. 2 different ages, though. Big jump on the age. Both of my kids had boys, my daughter and my son. And so really they have done really great as far as bringing their kids up. They're still bringing them up. So anyway, other kids have gone through a lot of neglect being kids. And where, a lot of times that the parents didn't really count the cost of really what it takes to be a mom and be a dad and to be a couple. Sometimes people have a hard enough time just staying together as a couple. And so about forgiveness is that, we keep on recycling this whole, this whole thing keeps on circling around, and we need to really put an end to this and be more responsible of who we're getting ourselves set up with, who we're marrying and all that stuff, because like even a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or even a one night time thing, or, friends with benefits. It's a sad world out there. There's a lot of people not even protecting themselves out there. They start out, maybe 3 times, protecting themselves. After that, they're like, hey, I guess they're safe. Like when it comes to that, go get tested first, go get all the tests first and then decide, like where you're going to go with that. But anyway, about forgiving people is that you got to understand also, like your mom and dad, what kind of education did they have, and that's where there's a big problem in this world. We should be getting better, not, like it should not be the same way and more kids getting abused. Even though the public school tries to protect the kids, even sometimes send them there, they get abused by even the teachers or the students, so there's really not a safe place to bring your kids out in this world, really. So you really need to know who you're getting involved with, and as a partner, whether it's a one night stand, because hey, things happen, in the heat of the moment. Where you're like, and you're not even thinking straight. On that part, really, the guy and the girl, the guy is the one that's got to wear protection, on that. And nowadays, now they have, drugs for a female. But for me, I wouldn't want to really personally take any kind of medication. I feel, I would rather have a man use a condom, and then, where I don't have to take some kind of medication that's going to give me some kind of horrible side effect. So, not that it's 100% accurate, but practicing using a condom and making sure you use it at every single time, if you really, I hate to say this, but a lot of people, they ought to really get tested, get all those STDs tested and the HIV, make sure they're getting their, make sure you're going with a person that's going to be faithful. And as far as getting pregnant and stuff, make sure you're, guys, make sure you're protecting yourself, at all costs, because, hey, all you guys might think it feels better, but it's not going to feel better later on when you find out your daddy, maybe you don't want that full responsibility. And a lot of guys, really, they don't want to pay child support after that happens. They don't want to commit in the relationship. And then even the woman that you're with might not even want you, so it is really, it might be fun when you're playing, but man, later on it is not really that fun when you find out, whoops, and why should the children pay for that lesson, and that's what's going on, where, people are not being responsible, and it has a lot to do with the society, the way we are brought up, and how we are, what we see in the world and what are, even in the school system, what's going on, in people's homes, what kind of stuff are you letting your kids watch, they are brainwashed by the news and a lot of stuff, all these apps that they have, I didn't even have a computer when I was a kid, so I can't even imagine, and so many kids now, I seen a little girl, maybe 5 years old, already has her first cell phone. I mean, talk about your mouth dropping. I mean, I was just getting my car fixed, and I was like, huh? Already 5 years old? I can't have any more babies naturally, but if I ever got hooked up with a man that had babies, I would have some tight rules and, things like that. I would not have a 5-year-old having a cell phone, I don't know what this world is coming to. You don't want your kids so filled up with that technology. I understand that it's important when they go to school, and they have to learn computer skills, and because we are living in the computer world. So if you came from a family that, maybe you came from a family that did drink alcohol, and did try to have a miscarriage, or, maybe your dad and your mom didn't want you, you got to think of what was their education, what was their mom and dad like, were they being brought up right? And, it really comes down to us, it starts out with the young boys and girls, when they start off, and if they're not getting brought up right, then what do we expect? And that's where the problem is. We can't tell people how to raise their kids. But, I heard recently there's not a whole lot of common sense out there as far as what to do and not to do. A lot of people just follow what everybody else is doing, and they watch movies on the either your TV or flat screen or your computer, or now, the cell phones, where people watch all kinds of stuff everywhere now. Where, they're really getting brainwashed by all that stuff and the Hollywood stuff, with the movies, and kids really don't get really what's going on. You got to really protect your kids so we don't keep on recycling, not recycling, but continuing this circle that we keep on having more kids being abused all the time, either, physically, sexually, verbally, or psychologically, neglect, all this stuff, where, I know I had a taste of all of that when I was growing up, with my family, and then later on with men that I dated, or even at churches, schools, there's so much abuse going on all around, or even strangers, you can go through some horrible stuff with some people you might have just met, so you really have to really protect your kids. And as far as your parents go, if they weren't brought up right, didn't have an education, that's what happened with my parents. And like I said, it was easier for me to forgive them for all the stuff that happened when I was a kid than it was for me. So I was learning when I went to church that, it took me a long time. I just wanted to know, why did all this stuff happen? Man, why, what the heck? It's just unreal, like the stuff that happened when I was a kid. And, if I told you everything right now, you'd be like, nah, you're making it up. Believe me, it's real. I got witnesses. One way or another. Everybody witnessed something. So that's the whole thing, is why I want to do this YouTube channel, is to help these kids out. That's why I'm here, is we really need to be a voice for parents, or young people that are starting out. Like, I really want to reach out for the kids and the teenagers, because that's where everybody's targeting, where you got people that want to just get them teenagers, to join the war, which I'm totally against war. And, I'm all about peace and love and harmony, love, light, and peace, I'm not about war. I would not send my kids out to a war, or out to the Army or the Navy, or, the Marines or whatever, no, a lot of those kids, boys or girls, especially the boys, they're thinking about shooting guns and having that power, and maybe, doing all the training and all that stuff. They're not thinking of what if a war really happens, and so, there's a lot of that going on in the world. And so, like with your family, like if you've been abused maybe by your brothers or sisters, or, like your uncles, your grandpas, like all kinds of people abuse their kids or grandkids. It could be verbally, like calling you names and calling you stupid or a retard, downing you, saying, what are you, stupid? Yeah, that stuff is out there in the world. It's a horrible negative energy. If you call your kids stupid, why don't you educate them? Stop calling them names. They don't need to be called names. They need to be loved, and things need to be explained to them. And that's where I've actually used to pick up bus kids. And sometimes when I picked up the bus kids, I knew that some of these kids were being abused. I seen, like the father in the background, like kicking his son, because he did something. So that really needs to stop. These kids, I got 2 beautiful grandkids, one that's 3.5 and the other one's going to be 13. What kind of women, are they going to marry later on? We got to be there for our grandbabies, so I want to really get everybody involved by being a voice. Get your voice out there, help these people out, help these young kids out, the teenagers, your grandkids. Some of you might have parents, you might have kids that actually, you might see the way they're raising their kids up and might not like how they're bringing them up. And that's a horrible thing. So, we need to, not to control your kids, but we need to, like maybe, like there's ways to helping them out, through this process, like, and it's a hard thing, but these kids need to stop being abused. And, like if you came from an abusive family, you got to realize what kind of education, my family didn't have an education. My mom's got like a 3rd grade level, and I'm not kidding you. How did a lady, with a 3rd grade level raise up how many kids and how many husbands and how many men, so I had to forgive her for all the stuff, that happened as a kid, because she lacked understanding. But, that's, get kind of old after a while, doesn't it? So, where people are like, oh, well, I didn't know. I did all this stuff, or I let all this happen. I wasn't there because I didn't know. Ignorance, has got to go right out the window, That's why people need to smarten up on how they're raising kids, so we don't have more adults having mental illnesses and continuing to abuse these children. So you have to forgive those people that did all this stuff, like whether your family members, your mom or dad, or relatives in the family, friends of the family. What kind of company, is the parents having, with their kids? Do you have people that come to your house that might be, looking on your boys or girls to think about doing stuff with them, because it happens, or your uncle, like your own brother or your sister might be up to no good or abusing your kids. Do you really, communicate with your kids to find out what's going on? Are they doing anything? So you gotta forgive those people that did those things in the past, and realize that a lot of them, like whether, it's a horrible excuse that they didn't know better, but, like neglect is a big part of how all this stuff happens, because, hey, they want to go out and do this and do that, and that's why I want to discourage anyone from having kids. Please don't have any kids, unless you're going to be fully responsible. Think of the ways that you can change the way you're living before you even have kids. Eat healthier, go and exercise, get out in nature, bring them up in a good way. Make sure they're getting education, not just from the public school. Make sure they get the education that they need, like not a bunch of lies. You got to protect them from, like just don't drop your kids off to anybody just because you want to go out to the bar, or you want to go to your friends, or you want to go hunting, or you want to go shopping with the girls, because really if you don't have time to, to be with your kids every day, then really, don't have kids. Get fixed, women, men, there's that operation, but both sexes can have. Men, if you don't want to have kids, my son already did that. Boom, he had one kid after that, boom. At least he's not out there, he learned his lesson already. He's like, like everybody loves to ask, when you have one kid, hey, when are you going to have the next one? And he decided, hey, I think it's better, that I get this operation done. And I'm so proud of him, I never wanted him to have babies anyway. It's kind of weird, but he wasn't going to have any. But something happened where he decided to have them, and now he's like, okay, I'm good, So I'm very proud of him because, he could have been like some people I knew where they didn't want kids and they didn't use protection, and, they ended up having kids that they didn't want. And then they had more kids they didn't want, where those two kids, one, ended up having like a learning disability, and the other ended up being blind and handicapped because, they tried to have a miscarriage with these two kids, two girls. And because of that, especially the one that's actually blind and handicapped, she'll never know what it's like to actually have a normal life. Nobody even spends any time with her. She goes, like she has to be taken care of in a house, from people that help take care of disabled people. She'll never know, what it's like to even have babies of her own because somebody didn't take the time out to, get that operation. Or, that would have been the best thing, really, to just get the operation, chop, just do whatever, get it done, before you know it, you'll be done with that operation, and you won't have to worry about it. You don't have to wear condoms anymore, so, and then, it would save a lot of kids from going through some of that stuff, where they, we got enough people out there in the world that have some kind of disability. I used to help out people that had disabilities. So we got enough of that going on, where, parents are not being responsible, and, maybe some kind of thing did happen where they did not come out, like the way you expected them or wanted them to. And that could have been through their genes and their bloodline or whatever. But, a lot of parents out there, they didn't want these kids in the first place. And not only you got to forgive those people in the past, whether they knew, right from wrong. In the Bible it says, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Wow. That was a hard one to wrap my mind around, huh? They didn't know, huh? So yeah, I had to forgive my family no matter what. And I love my family. It just, I always wanted to know why did all this stuff happen. But as I got older, I realized, they lacked education. But that shouldn't be an excuse why these kids are being abused and later on they want to kill themselves. So besides forgiving other people, we really need to, like if we've done something wrong in the past, like, and I was so good with everybody else. My issue was I didn't treat myself good, and it has to do a lot with the way I was brought up, and, like things that I've gone through that got me to be the way I am, like now, the way I am now. But, where I really have been abusive to myself, like I don't know how many times I've tried to end my life, starting at the age of 10, and all the way up until who knows when. Yeah, so, and that's because of abuse, mental illnesses and stuff that people have. So if you really love your kids, if you can't be the mom and dad that you really want for them to have, they got so many families out there, that would love to raise your kids and give them a beautiful home, give them the right proper food that they need to eat instead of having junk food all the time, where they can have healthy meals and a good education, beautiful clothes, where they're being cleaned, where they're being taught, like right from wrong, and they're being, like where they're, these people can be an example to them. And that's where a lot of people fail as parents, is that they say one thing, but they do another. And it really complicates things and confuses the kid. Hey, you told me I can't drink alcohol, but you're drinking alcohol. You tell me that I shouldn't smoke cigarettes, but you're smoking, so, there's so many things that parents do. They're like, at first they think the children are stupid, and then they start getting an education, and then the kids start getting smart, and then the kids start seeing right through their lies, so you got to be honest with your kids. If you expect them to do something, then, I know there's some things that really they can't do because they're kids, like drive a car. That's a thing right there, is that, hey, I'm an adult, but like if you're smoking cigarettes and drinking alcohol and getting drunk around your kids, they're going to want to do that, so they're going to see it. My mom and dad did not, they did drink, but they did not smoke cigarettes, but I had other people that were around that did. And that's the whole reason I wanted to learn how to smoke cigarettes, is because the people that my parents had at our house, there was a lot of partying going on when I was a kid. So a lot of alcohol or wine, beer or wine, a lot of music getting together with relatives or friends. So and that's why a lot of going out to the bars, where they really should have got that operation, instead of having more babies. If you don't want any more kids, go to your doctor, let them know, they'll help you out. They got the operation thing going on, where, and then you got to forgive yourself in life. You got to make sure, if you did something in the past, that you don't beat yourself up over it. Or if you're doing stuff now and you're like, you got to let it go, because if you're hanging on to that, that's really, whether you know this or not, it's actually blocking things in your life. You might be trying to figure out how come nothing's working out right in your life. Maybe there's maybe you got to forgive other people, and you got to forgive yourself. And like I said, it's harder to me to forgive myself than to forgive others. Where because I got saved and became a Christian, I knew the right thing to do was to forgive all of those that abused me as a kid, or even my exes, or strangers or whoever. I had to forgive all them people, because if I don't, then it's like, like when you go down the road and you see a roadblock, like, and you're trying to get through the other side, but you can't. It's because you got to let that stuff go in order so you can move through that roadblock. Then the roadblock will be removed, and you can go through and get those the desires that you want in life. So maybe you're stuck right now. Maybe you have bitterness and envy and strife in your heart. And that's like I said, I had no problem really, in a way, to let go of all this stuff that happened, even though it was hard to let go. It was easier to really forgive them people, what they did. but it was so hard. I was so hard on myself of what, like, I didn't go around beating people and molesting them and all that stuff, or sexually harassing people and stuff like that, or verbally or physically and all that stuff. I was very good to everyone. I just wasn't. So, here I was trying to commit suicide, Why? Because of the pain. Nobody wants to deal with that pain. They want to end it, People do want to live, but they don't want to live with the pain, So that's what it was. I was carrying all that abuse that happened as a kid through every day. I was like a big freaking load on my back, So I had to learn to let that go. I had to let that backpack, like I had one on the other day. I had a backpack on my back, and then it's like, how are you going to get up that mountain, like with that, all that stuff loaded on your back? Well, take that backpack off, and it's easier to get up that hill, that mountain. So you gotta let go of that stuff and forgive yourself for your shortcomings, and like the stuff that did happen a long time ago, or like maybe you weren't there for your kids, but you can't go back and fix that now, but you can do something about it today. If you got kids that you weren't there when you were younger, hey, now is the time to reach out to them and let them know that, like, hey, get them out, say, hey, let's go to a restaurant or go for a hiking trip, or, get them out and go buy them something. Let them know that you love them. It's never too late. And I know a lot of people that suffered through that is that they weren't really good parents or good dad or a good mom with their kids. So you can always, work through that as you're older. And I know some of you might, there's laws and stuff like that. If you've have a bad record, there's ways that you can work on those, and, but you got to work on yourself in order to reach all those goals that you have to do, to be able to see your kids. So anyway, you got to forgive others, and more than importantly is you got to forgive yourself. You're never going to move on in life the way you want to, smoothly, if you don't love yourself, and you can't forgive yourself. You don't want to be hard on yourself, and like I have been known to be very hard on me, and like I said, I've always loved people. I've always went out of my way to help people out. I gave them, I have given a girl, a relative of mine, she has a mental illness because she came from a bad family, and she was in and out of the hospital, and she was suicidal, and she was all kinds of in a mess. And I just went out and bought me a brand new white and black coat. And I seen her, and she was without. And you know what I did? I took off my brand new coat, and I gave it to her. Even though that coat didn't last very long, I did. It's almost like I took the shirt off my back, and I'm that type of person that would give the shirt off my back right now. But I'm not going to do that on here. It's YouTube here. So I know you guys are probably hoping I would take it off, but no, I don't want to scare you. So anyway, I hope you really like this video, and if you do, give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe. I'm going to be touching about so many serious topics out in the world, like on YouTube, because I'm here to, I want to rescue these kids out there and help the teenagers, because that's really, we really need to, I have a huge heart for so many of you. I got a huge heart for the elderly, the, handicapped people, homeless people, teenagers, kids, dogs, pets, older folks, like all of you. I do. I love all of you. So anyway, I really hope you get some help, and if you are really struggling, you can always go to therapy, find somebody that really cares, but it might take a little while to actually find a good one. Not all of them are good, I found out. So you really, and meditation really is helpful, guided meditation. So those are other ways. And I will have videos on that too, with meditations. Not that I'm a beginner, but I do have some tips for beginners, because that's where I am. So anyway, I love all of you. Make sure you're always being kind to yourself, and I mean that. I can see you. Make sure you are being kind. Love yourself every day, and don't be afraid to give yourself a hug. You need one. If nobody else will give you a hug, hug yourself. Forget everybody else. Just give yourself a big hug, and spend some alone time with yourself. Go out in nature, really. So anyway, I love all of you. Make sure you're being kind to yourself, and don't forget your furry little friends and the not so furry friends. So anyway, this is Starlight. Love and light. Peace.